like any painting, what do we do first? We get the white out. So this is an 8x8 gesso board, and I am staining it with transparent iron oxide red. And I get all of my pigments from M-Gram. To do the rest with the paper towel, we want to get most of the buildup off. We just want to get that bright white out. We have one little girl here, right here, and then her sister is like right here. And she is this comes out more like this. Okay. Now you're wondering, why am I doing geometric shapes? Well, I want to get the perspective right. And I'm basically looking at what the shape would be that is just under their legs, and using that as a starting point to draw in the deer correctly. Did I always do it this way? No. And let me tell you, I made some messes trying to draw in animals this complicated into a painting. I did make my share of mistakes. And this is just something I came up with. Try to find the easiest way to do it. And for me, it's all about shapes. I see shapes so much better than I see lines. So I try to default to shapes as much as possible. So now I'm going to remove those lines because I have the deer drawn in correctly. And we are starting the second deer. Now, I am going to go over this once I get these sketched in. This is really just a sketch for placement. You'll see in a minute that I'm going to go over this and get more accurate with the drawing. Remember I said sister? Well, guess what? This is a little boy. And there you see his beginning of a rack or antlers that I'm trying to sketch in. And I'm going to remove the triangle here also. I'm really glad that I looked for that shape that was under the legs of the deer, because it helped me with getting the deer drawn in correct perspective. Now, on the original photograph that I'm working from, there is a pathway that is trimmed with these rocks, and I'm trying to figure if I'm going to keep them in or not. Sometimes what works in a photograph does not work in a painting, but we'll see what happens. Now that I have it sketched in, I'm looking for the easiest thing to do next. And for me, it's the eyes. I've said this before, for me to do eyes first, whenever I'm doing an animal, helps me to see that it's a living creature and helps me do a better job developing the rest of the animal. And now you see I've decided to go ahead and do a more definite outline, a little bit more attention to detail of the shape of this deer. And whenever you see my brush hesitate, and I do have this on double time, but whenever you see my brush hesitate, it's because I am looking at my photo reference. So I do that the entire time whenever I'm trying to draw something from a photo reference or paint in an area. You might also see that my brush hesitates. That is me always checking the photo reference. And you'll see this happen a lot. So as you could see, the eyes that I placed, they're just a placeholder for the eyes. I am still moving along, doing a more final drawing, and then I'll start working the faces of each of these deer, and the eyes will be included. Have you noticed how many times my brush hesitates as I'm drawing? Again, that's because I am looking at my reference. And I have more confidence actually because of the fact that I did a very light sketch first. So I'm using both the photo reference and my sketch to accurately draw in this deer. So now it's time to actually develop the deer. And I am starting with a darker tone for the deer. And that's the best practices for any oil painting is you actually start dark and go lighter. And you will see as this painting progresses that I paint light right into the darker tones and blend. And then other times I use very strong brushwork and I don't blend. Now we're moving up a few shades in value to the mid-range. I'm not going to focus too much on how I developed the rocks or this early background because it totally changes. So we're going to kind of gloss over this part real quick and get to the good parts. However, we will include our cast shadows. And you can see here that I've eliminated those rocks that were pointing into the deer on the top left side. All right, you can see I've already pretty much wiped out all that color I put down and then tried to do a pathway. Now, this is for compositional, and it doesn't work. As the painting develops, it doesn't work. So spoiler alert there. Let's enjoy developing the deer in the meantime. This area here underneath the neck is more of a cast shadow. It's not really the true color of the deer. The deer is still light. Now here comes those lighter colors. And notice how much more pigment is on my brush. It's more thickly applied. That is a good practice whenever you're oil painting. You start out very thin, and then you add your thicker colors as you develop each area of your painting. And here is where there's some strong sunlight. So right now you see me applying a lot of lighter color, but if you look closely, I'm trying to capture the roundness of the muscles using that lighter color. And right here you see me capturing sunshine. Then sometimes with the lighter color, I'm just getting the color of their legs. Well, we have our first deer finished, so let's move on to the second deer. This eye is too close, so we have to adjust that. Now we're going to pay more attention to the eyes. There is more of a bone structure to this male deer's head, and I'm trying to bring it out with both lighter and warmer color, and then of course the shadow color. All of that together helps to bring out the bone structure. So right here you see me using what I am going to consider a background color to come in and shape the left side of this deer's face. And now for the highlight in the eyes, suggestion of the mouth, and we're going to polish off the face using the lighter color to bring out more of the bone structure. And you can see I am blending a bit here. Time to move on to the rest of the deer. And you see we're starting with some lighter color, and we want to make sure that that's applied rather thickly. And then we can go over that with even lighter color, or we can come back with darker color. It's a give and take. While I'm doing this, just enjoy seeing how I'm working with all these values to create this handsome deer. So I struggled a bit with the background, and I'm going to just kind of go quickly through this part of it, and you'll see why. Spoiler alert, what I'm doing right now, I change later on in the painting to a sky color. Now, because it's such a bright sunny day, we do have to have a cast shadow directly under these deer. And here we are. We think we're adjusting the camera just right, as you can see. And then the next thing that happens is, oh no, it falls down. The thing that I have to make a decision on is right through here. A little bit through here and maybe right through here. I might change this to flowers. I'm not sure. So let's see. Just to give it that extra appeal. Can you believe it? And let me tell you something, this correction was really fantastic. So what I am going to show is the little bit of it that I can, and then I'm going to show you the finished painting. And so I did darken the cast shadow around the deer. Here I'm beginning to change the background. And I decided to have a sky and a grass area. And I took out the rocks, as you'll see in a moment, and I put something else in its place. And now you see that I'm taking out the rocks and replacing them with a suggestion of a flower bed. I suggest more flower beds also. Here's a close-up of how I work the grass up around the deer's hoofs, and that's to make them planted into the grass, part of the entire composition of this painting. And here is the finished painting with the flower beds, the deer, and the sky. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment.